All right, so the question is, can Bitcoin work without internet? And the simple answer is no, but it may be possible one day. So at the moment, let's say you've got a wallet, a mobile crypto wallet on your cell phone, and somebody has given you their address and you want to send them some funds. So what you would do is you would put the address, you would go to your assets, you'd go to your Bitcoin or whatever, you'd press send, and you'd put in the address that you've been given. And to be honest, it would already start to fail, I think, at that point, because it needs to obtain like some information from the network. I'm talking especially about fees here, but it could also be that wallets also do some other checking as well before you even attempt to send the transaction. So yeah, it could fail at that point. But even if you press send, like I said, even then at that point, it's going to go out to the network and it's going to look at the current expected network fees that you might have to pay, and your wallet is going to ask you how much do you want to pay in fees. Now let's say it doesn't do that check, right? What happens if you just choose a fee yourself to pay and then you press send? Then what it's gonna try and do at that point is it's gonna try and reach out to the network. So every wallet has got usually its own nodes that it uses. If not, I suppose it would elect to select some specific nodes on the network, like a cluster of them, and hopefully at least one of those is available, and through there it would spread your transaction message to the network. Now it's going to fail at that point, because if the internet's not working, you have no access to that node. So yeah, it's just not going to work. It's just impossible to work. And let me talk about receiving funds as well. Let's say someone sends you funds. If you don't have internet, then there's no way for your wallet to know that it's received funds. So the way a wallet normally works is it will be periodically checking what your balance is, and when it notices a change in your balance, it will send you a push notification, hey, your balance changed, and this is why, because you've received some money. So if you're not connected to the internet, then you're not connected to the Bitcoin network, and therefore you can actually receive the money, but you won't know about it until you connect back to the network. So yeah, people can definitely, Bitcoin will work in the sense that you can receive it if you're on a desert island. People can keep sending you Bitcoin, it'll keep hitting your account, you just won't know about it until you get back off that desert island and reconnect to the internet. So in that sense it works, but transactions cannot happen without the internet. So nobody can send. Sending is basically moving from one address to another. Nobody can do that without the internet. Now, there are some interesting things going on that I think maybe one day it might actually be possible to use Bitcoin to send from one person to another to pay for something, goods or service or whatever, to make a payment without the internet. Let me explain. So there's a couple of things that make me think that. Now, first of all, we already have something called the Bitcoin Lightning Network. So the Lightning Network was developed when a few years ago there was a period, which I think, if I remember correctly, it was several months, if not at least a year or more, where Bitcoin fees were really, really high, prohibitively high, and you wouldn't even want to send $100 worth of Bitcoin, because like a huge chunk of it would get eaten by fees. So it was really bad for Bitcoin, and it was basically due to its popularity. Now, so what happened after that was they decided to let's develop something called the Lightning Network. And what this does is, now I may be wrong with some of my terminology, but the basic concepts I think I've got pretty correct. It is a kind of like side chain. Already I know people are going to tell me no, a side chain is something different, but hear me out. It's a sort of a separate network, let's call it, or sidechain, or something like that, but something that is separate, where I believe what happens is you can transact there for much lower fees, and then it kind of rolls up or does a batch transaction later. Yeah, like when I say it kind of aggregates all these microtransactions together and then updates the main network later on. So it's not the same as the complete network, but it's able to, for these special use cases, especially for small amounts, do something different, roll them all up and put them back on the network. And that did have an effect when it came out. I can't remember when that came out whether it immediately made the fees go back down again. The thing about the Lightning Network is it's a bit of like a proof of concept. I don't even remember the original reason why Bitcoin fees just went back to normal, because it's definitely not the case that a ton of people are now suddenly using the Lightning Network. That's definitely not the case. It kind of ended up, in my opinion, some will disagree with me, being a kind of proof of concept to show that we could lower fees on the main network. But in the end, I don't think it's being heavily used. Like, for example, there isn't a great amount of wallet support for it. You need a wallet that will support it. And to my knowledge, there isn't yet a great deal of wallet support for the Lightning Network. So, but the reason I mention it is it shows that we can already come up with interesting solutions that are away from the main network. Now, you still need the internet for that, but now let me tell you about something else. So you may also have heard of CBDC, central bank digital currencies, which are basically cryptos but run by governments, central banks, intended to be used for conversion back and forth between regular fiat currency like the US dollar, etc. And a lot of people are anti-CBDC, and other people are very pro CBDC, although you don't really hear about the latter. And the idea is that potentially one day cash could be replaced by a central bank digital currency. There would be no more paper US dollars. Instead, it would be just like having crypto in a wallet on your phone, but it would be the government's official crypto, put it that way. Now, there's one country, I'm not gonna name it because it's kind of irrelevant, but I just want to say that there's at least one country, maybe more, that has developed something unique where, one question people asked was very similar to this one, which is, how is it going to work without internet? What about really remote areas that don't have internet? How are people supposed to use a CBDC? And I believe there's an innovation, a type of wallet, and the way that it works is, I don't know if there's an understanding in the network or something like that, but there would be a certain amount, not a huge amount, a certain amount that could be traded offline. And what would happen is, let's say I'm a villager in some remote village, and I don't know, I buy some potatoes from another villager and I pay him with digital currency. Both of us are not on the internet, but what would happen is, for some limited amount, that's okay. Something would happen in our mobile wallets, I guess, but the next time that we both reconnected to the internet, maybe we're going into the nearest town to buy supplies or something, then the network would catch up. So there would be some kind of local caching on the device, but later on the network would catch up. I don't know how that works exactly. I haven't looked into it. I guess at least one of those wallets needs to reconnect to the internet, and I don't know, maybe when the second one also connects, it's an additional check. I mean, if that shows something different, that could potentially be an issue. I don't know how this tech works, but obviously it's only for limited amounts. It's not going to let you make huge payments offline, because obviously there's all kinds of risks involved there. So yeah, that's basically how I think that one day Bitcoin or maybe another crypto could possibly work without the internet. But today it won't work without the internet. So hope you found this interesting. Let me know what you think. Leave a comment below. I'd love to hear from you, and give this a thumbs up if you thought it was interesting, and I will see you again soon. Bye bye.